The first question to ask when trying something new in advertising is it really different? When it comes to best version media, the answer is yes, and in a big way. Our different approach is what makes us one of the fastest growing privately held media companies in all of North America. We have hundreds of publications and thousands of advertisers. Here's why we're different. Other mediums try to impress with irrelevant and antiquated terms such as cost per thousand. That used to make sense when each town had 3 TV stations, 5 radio stations, and a newspaper, but today it's irrelevant. The internet, cable, satellites, smartphones, and iPads make targeting way more relevant than it ever has been in the history of advertising. We target effectively where others can't. We did something unexpected. We combined an old idea with a new idea. We use social media in a micro-targeting approach, but we do it in print form. Here's a metaphor to illustrate. A jeweler who specializes in engagement rings meets with a cost per thousand focused seller. He wows the jeweler who says he can give him an audience of 100,000 people for only $1,000. The jeweler grabs a great cost per thousand only to find out that the ad goes to retired people living 2 counties away. Then comes along a different advertising solution. This gentleman opening shares that his price is 2 times higher and that he can only get the jeweler in front of 500 people, or 1/2 of the 1% of the previous rep. Sounds like a bad idea, until the rep explains that all of the 500 are men earning $150,000 a year who are about to propose to their girlfriends within the next 30 days. That ad campaign is a sure hit, reaching his prime market. So with that in mind as a metaphor, here's how we're different from other mediums. Newspapers and other print companies who provide commodity information are dying. No news there. Why subscribe to something when you can get it for free? Cable, radio, regional, and citywide magazines splash a message way beyond a usable range, failing to target effectively, and wow, the cost. But we provide a high-end glossy magazine to specifically targeted family-oriented active subdivisions and communities. Then we feature a young athlete or team from that community on the cover. Youth Sports provides a culture of engagement like nothing else, causing our readers to say all the same thing. I always read the magazine because I always know the person on the cover. Or, even if I don't know them personally, I know of their team, league, or recognize their jersey. At a minimum, I know they live in my community, so I want to know about them. In fact, an independent community group surveyed the readers showing that 89.4% of all people who receive the magazine read it. The magazine covers youth sports because this niche is widely engaging and irresistible to the readers. It is a community resource guide covering all seasonal youth sports with relevant content, including sections for experts, parents, and coaches to share their ideas, successes, and compelling stories with their neighbors. We also provide sports directories, a middle school MVPs section, a photo gallery of athletes, and where are they now feature. So our core story isn't simply a facade, it's the theme. We provide magazines by the people, about the people, and for the people, so it's inevitable that the people love them. And that's the key for you as an advertiser. But what really gives it its power is the micro-targeting. Take, for example, a citywide magazine that has a drop distribution, meaning that all of the new print-style magazines that they produce are dropped in stacks for free outside of grocery stores or restaurants. This is also sometimes called controlled distribution. Obviously, most are returned and never read. Others end up under the canary, and the ones that are read by who? Nobody really knows. In one market, a company boasts their distribution of 60,000 papers. So an advertiser, Bob, who spends $1,000 a month thinks, wow, $16 per 1,000 readers. Then Bob searches his client base and finds out that, like many businesses, 80% of his customers come from a 5-mile radius or less. He finds out that only 5,000 of the newspapers are actually dropped in the 5-mile radius, and only 20% of those are actually picked up. So his cost per 1,000 from a practical perspective is not $16, but actually $1,000. No wonder that print ad never really worked for him. On the other hand, Best Version Media delivers to 100% of family-oriented subdivisions and homes with children in the area that he wants to reach. The customers get the magazines in the mail, not stuffed into some newspaper box, and bam, 89% are read. Let's do another comparison. Take your standard citywide magazine, a picture of a cheeseburger on the late edition, before that a well-known plastic surgeon, before that a coffee cup. Coffee's great, cheeseburgers rock, and the surgeon sure is handsome. But it's the picture of your neighbor on the cover of a Best Version Media magazine that gets you to open it every time. Next, the standard city magazine is 124 pages, but the best version media magazine generally is give or take 16 to 48 pages. So an ad with us has 3 to 10 times more likely to be seen from an objective perspective. And that doesn't even consider the open rate, which could double the likelihood that your ad is viewed by our readers beyond the page count. Then consider this. That typical city magazine sends thousands of copies to hotel rooms and newsstands where only 5 to 15% of those are purchased, and the ones that are delivered specifically to any particular demographic are spotty at best. So your business, gym, agency, dealership, or firm has no idea how many actual homes in the area you're trying to reach really get the magazine. Any paid subscription magazine, like most city magazines, would be lucky to penetrate 10% of any given subdivision, village, or neighborhood. So let's stack that up. If they reach 10% and we reach 100%, then we are 10 times more effective. Add that to our page count and open rate, and your ad can be viewed by 20 to 100 times greater of a relevant targeted audience with a best version media magazine. We deliver all of our magazines via the mail directly to every home, ensuring we hit the exact demographic. Other magazines can only speculate. For local and regional companies who struggle to get their message heard on the internet, they turn to direct mail to get their message across, but this is expensive. After designing, printing, and stamping their message, they spend between 50 cents to $6 per mailing. Using a lower-end example of $1 per mailing, a company trying to micro-target an affluent subdivision of 1,000 homes spends $1,000 and gets a response rate of 0.025, or really solidly 1.5%. But if they put that same ad into our magazine, they would get multiple deliveries with an 89% open rate, which increases the odds of the response rate being higher. But even if the response rate remained the same, they would still have a greater advantage with the BVM magazine because they would receive multiple months of delivery for the same amount of expense, therefore exponentially increasing the odds of their ad being seen. So when you consider our open rate at 89.4%, the lower page count, and the fact that we're mailed to every home in the target, well, then the answer is simple. But there are more reasons we're a better bang for your buck when it comes to advertising. Recently, a research company found that magazines are the most desired way for consumers to receive their advertising, way beyond the internet and mobile apps, which irritate consumers. In fact, magazines are desired even ahead of television in certain circles. But television commercials are also appealing. Unlike television, however, a magazine will hold the attention of the reader for as long as he or she wants, keeping him or her in control. Magazines that come out bi-monthly, annually, or quarterly are about as effective as a fitness trainer who helps his client work out once every couple weeks. By the time the first workout gets your metabolism going, it fades and you start over, sacrificing everything you gained in the first place. But we have monthly publications with new and varied content, which brings the reader back to the magazine as much as 5.5 times per month. Whether it's for the featured athlete, team directories, sports articles, or local events, the magazine acts as a guide for the month and repeats your message. So we know how to reach the families who buy your goods. That's why we're one of the fastest growing privately held media companies in all of North America. We're experts at what we do, so you can be an expert at what you do.